Every plant on this list moves, reacts, or behaves in ways nothing rooted in the ground is supposed to. None of it is trickery, and every bit of it is real. Sensitive plant? Touch this plant's leaves and they fold shut in under a second, faster than you can pull your finger away. Inside the base of every leaflet sits a tiny hinge called a pulvinus, packed with cells that hold themselves rigid with water pressure. The instant something brushes the leaf, those cells dump potassium and chloride ions. Water rushes out and the hinge collapses, folding the leaflet closed almost instantly. Researchers tracking the signal found it moves through the plant as a wave of calcium, reaching the hinge in under 1/10 of a second after the very first touch. Folding smaller and drooping makes the plant look less appetizing to a browsing insect, and it exposes the small spines along the stem at the same time. The same leaves fold shut every night too, whether anything touches them or not. This one plant is already stranger than most people expect, and it isn't even the strangest thing on this list. Dodder. This vine doesn't wait around to be found by a plant to feed on. It sniffs one out and grows straight toward it. A dodder seedling has about a week of stored energy before it needs a host, and no roots or leaves worth mentioning to survive without one. Researchers found that seedlings placed near a tomato plant grew toward it roughly 80% of the time, and even leaned toward a rubber tube scented with nothing but tomato chemicals. It's responding to airborne scent the same way an animal might, just slower. Once it reaches a stem, the dodder spirals around it and drives in small root-like pegs called haustoria, tapping directly into the host's water and nutrients. Its own root at the base then rots away completely, cutting the vine loose from the ground for good. From there, it keeps spreading until a healthy plant disappears under a tangle of thin orange threads. Farmers who deal with it regularly have given it names like devil's guts and strangleweed. Touch me not. This plant's seed pods explode the instant you touch them, fast enough that your eye can barely register it happening. As the pod ripens, its outer walls build up mechanical tension the way a coiled spring does, storing energy with nowhere to go. The lightest touch is enough to trigger release, and the whole pod twists and curls inward in about 4 milliseconds, faster than a camera flash. Seeds go flying in every direction, some landing more than a meter from the plant that launched them. That distance matters more than it looks. A seed that lands too close to its parent ends up competing with it for light and water, so every seed the pod manages to fling further away gets a slightly better shot at actually surviving. Resurrection plant. This plant can dry out until it looks like a dead ball of twigs, then come back to life within hours of touching water. As moisture disappears, it curls tightly inward, shrinking its exposed surface and sealing its tissue away from the air. Some individuals have been recorded surviving down to roughly 5% internal moisture, protected by a natural sugar compound that stabilizes their cells instead of letting them collapse. In that dried state, some specimens have reportedly stayed dormant for 6 or 7 years without a single drop of water. The moment water finally reaches it, the change is almost immediate. Stems begin to relax within the hour, and by the next day the plant has fully unfurled into a soft green rosette, resuming photosynthesis like nothing happened. One other plant much further down this list also plays a waiting game that stretches on for years, though its ending looks nothing like a resurrection at all. Telegraph plant. This plant's smaller leaves rotate in slow circles all day long, completely on their own, with no wind, no touch, and no obvious trigger at all. Each tiny leaflet sits on its own miniature hinge, cells that shift water in and out of themselves, almost like little balloons filling and draining. Every 3 to 4 minutes, that shift is enough to rotate the leaflet through a small loop over and over for as long as there's daylight and warmth. Unlike the sensitive plant, touching it does nothing. The motion keeps going whether anyone or anything comes near it at all. Nobody has fully settled on why. Some botanists suspect it helps the plant track the angle of the sun. Others aren't convinced that explains a movement this constant. Charles Darwin himself studied this exact plant in the 1800s, fascinated by leaves that moved with no apparent trigger at all, and the mystery he noticed has still never been fully resolved. For now, it's one of the few plant behaviors that scientists can describe in exact mechanical detail without agreeing on the reason it evolved at all. Walking palm. For decades, guides told visitors this tree can walk 20 meters a year on its stilt-like roots. It can't, and the actual explanation turned out to be more interesting than the myth. The story held on for so long because the tree really does look like it's mid-stride, its trunk balanced on a cone of spiny roots raised well clear of the ground. A biologist finally put the legend to a real test in 2005, tracking individual trees over time, and found the trunks never moved from where they first sprouted. What does happen is that older roots die off while new ones grow toward more stable ground, giving the illusion of movement to anyone who isn't tracking the actual trunk underneath. Nobody's fully certain why the roots evolved this way in the first place. Leading theories range from stabilizing the tree in soft, swampy soil to letting it grow tall without needing a thicker trunk. The walking was never real, but the mystery underneath it still is. Sunflower heliotropism. Young sunflowers don't just lean toward the sun during the day, they swing back around every single night to face east again, hours before sunrise even arrives. That timing turned out to be the real surprise. Researchers kept sunflowers under constant artificial light for days, with no sunrise or sunset to react to at all, and the plants kept swinging back and forth on almost exactly the same 24-hour rhythm anyway. The stem itself does the work, growing faster on the east side during the day and faster on the west side at night, bending the whole plant back and forth like a slow, living pendulum. Once the flower head finally opens, the tracking simply stops. The mature bloom locks into place facing east and stays that way for the rest of its life. That fixed direction isn't just habit either. East-facing flowers warm up faster in the morning sun, and warmer flowers pull in roughly 5 times more pollinating insects than a flower facing the wrong way would. Every other mystery on this list is still waiting on an answer. This one, for once, has already been solved right before something considerably less friendly closes out the list. Strangler fig. This tree starts life as a single seed dropped in the branches of another tree, and it spends the next several decades quietly killing the one that gave it a home. A bird or a bat deposits the seed high in the canopy, well above the forest floor, where it germinates in a spot no ordinary tree seedling could ever reach. Thin roots creep downward along the host's trunk until they hit soil, then thicken and multiply, gradually fusing into a dense lattice wrapped around the original tree. As that lattice tightens, it restricts the host's own flow of water and nutrients, while the fig's spreading crown steals the sunlight overhead. Underneath all of that slow architecture, the process is simple. The host slowly starves inside its own bark. Eventually, the host tree dies and rots away entirely, leaving the fig standing on its own, a hollow cylinder of fused roots where a completely different tree once stood. That hollow trunk rarely stays empty for long. Bats and birds move in almost immediately, turning the remains of one tree's death into another creature's shelter. Oddly enough, some research suggests the same tangled roots occasionally help the host survive violent storms, bracing it against wind, right up until the moment they finish the job some other way entirely.